Can inmates actually manipulate an administration into having officers moved out of a dorm, having the duty roster changed? Can inmates actually manipulate an administration to cause them to do less cell searches? Well, in my opinion, it can happen, and it has happened, but don't take it from me. Here's a couple of officers I'm going to tell you about that say it's happening to them right now in their agency, and if it is, we need to put a stop to it. Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe if you like this video. Yes, I think, and I have actually seen where inmates can write enough grievances to where the administration caves in. Some administrations. So before I go any further and have every administration in the United States upset with me, I want to say some administrations have been manipulated by the inmate grievance system. And you have to be very careful with the inmate grievance system. We must look at their grievances and we must take them seriously, but we also need to know how to weed out the false grievances, how to weed out the ones that are just trying to get a good officer out of the dorm, an officer who is doing their duty and making them follow the rules. Now, you all know, if you've been in this business for any time period, that if you're doing your job and you are making the inmates do what they're supposed to do, you will probably get grievances written on you in an attempt to remove you from that dormitory. And we need the administration to not forget where they came from. And I know there's a lot of administration here in Florida that never worked the floors. They went another route. So I'm not trying to belittle them, but you need to know the tricks of the inmates and not forget where you came from. Let me give you an example. I'm not going to give names, by the way, but one officer sent me a message saying, one of the biggest problems I ever faced was when the warden called me in his office and asked me not to conduct any more searches without permission of my captain. The officer further went on to tell me that he was known for getting a lot of contraband off the compound, cell phones, shanks, all kinds of things. And he said that he was told to refrain from doing so many cell searches. Well, folks, I didn't get into great detail with him because we did not talk personally. We just did this by a private message that was sent to me. Could this have been because of inmate grievances going into the administration? And what other factors could be involved? As administrators are listening to this right now, they're going, maybe he was a RoboCop, maybe he was doing too much. Well, could be. But folks, sorry about the sarcasm there, but if an officer's finding contraband, I say keep finding it. My opinion only. My opinion only. But I say if an officer is doing cell searches and finding contraband, allow them to continue. Now, he later stated that he went back, he had written the warden because it just bothered him so much, and asked for some type of policy or procedure in writing to be presented to him to say that he should not be conducting random cell searches. He said he was called back into this warden's office and told he may continue doing his random cell searches. Okay, why in the first place was he even stopped from doing random cell searches, you know? And I left the Florida Department of Corrections, I'm talking about my experience now, in 2005, and we could still search cells whenever we felt like it. We actually encouraged it. And at the end of my career with the Florida Department of Corrections as a prison inspector, if I had an investigation where we'd already wrapped it up, we knew who the guilty inmate was, or we knew who the guilty staff member was, I said, hey, Mr. Warden, this is what I would like to do. I would like to take all the players now. We've got this case wrapped up, but before we start shipping inmates or locking inmates up or firing staff members, before the word gets out, I'd like to get a few of your men and do a shakedown of that area and those particular inmates. And 90% of the wardens said yes. No problem, go do it. Get that stuff out of here. And the officers loved it, because then he would give me a team of 3 or 4 or 5 officers, different prisons, different places. And the officers said, I said, hey, look, this is your prison, not mine. You know best who's got what and where. Let's go get them. And I would just point in the direction of my investigation, and we would find all kinds of things. At least we got it out of there. Now, we need to keep doing things like that. You know, I did not just stop at my investigation. I actually got with the wardens and tried to help get contraband out of the way. Now, I don't know if that's going on today. I don't know if there's that close of a relationship today with jail detectives and jail administrators, prison inspectors, and wardens. I don't know if that's that close. And I do know that when I left the jail, I went from there to the jail, and I retired in 2018, last year. It was 2 random cell searches per shift, and 1 day a week we did a random pod shakedown, complete shakedown. So, you know, I hope this is still going on and not being held back by wardens like the one I just gave you an example of. Not good, in my opinion. Another person wrote, I have been moved from post to post due to inmate grievances because I'm doing my job and the inmates do not want me in their dorm. Now, as an administrator, you may say, what is the reason for this person getting so many grievances? Folks, okay, let's be real. There could be times when an officer is not doing exactly the way they should. They may be overshooting their power. I don't know, okay? I'm just throwing that out there, because that's what administrators have to look for. Why are these grievances coming in so often on this officer? But this officer is so concerned about doing the right thing and keeping the dorm disciplined and keeping the inmates straight and looking for contraband that I get the gut feeling inside when I was contacted by private message from this person that they really are doing the right thing, and they want to do the right thing. So did inmate grievances manipulate the administration? And now the inmates have won the battle. They've gotten the good officer out of the dorm, and now they've got another officer that is not as aggressive, not as observant, not willing to go out and do their job like they're supposed to. Now the inmates won't grieve anymore, because that's what they're trying to do in many cases. The inmates are trying to filter out the officers that do their job until they can get a dorm officer that does not do their job. Oh, then you don't have any grievance. You know, they say if you don't go through a career in corrections without being investigated or having a grievance put on you somewhere, then you know, there might be something we need to look at, because a lot of good officers get grievances filed on them to get taken out of the picture. And I'm just throwing these things out here. There's more officers like these 2 out there. So, administration, please, I just gave 2 examples. I could probably ask people to send me more examples and I would get them. If you want to put them at the bottom of this YouTube, go right ahead. But it's a 2-way street. Administration has their job to do, but officers have a job to do as well. One thing I am hearing, and I'm not happy, officers, I don't think you should use this as an excuse. I think you should do your job no matter what. But a lot of officers are saying, hey, my hands are tied. Administration doesn't want me to do too many searches. And I have heard from other people too that they've been told, don't search anymore. We've already found a ton of cell phones, don't search anymore. And I believe these officers, these are frontline officers telling me this information. Our hands are tied. We're told we're going to put flex cuffs on you and send you out to your dorm, and we're going to tell you do a good job and don't mess up, or we're going to write you up, or we're going to take care of the problem. When I think the problem is we're not looking at the grievances hard enough. Sure, true, there's going to be a grievance to go through. now and then that's true. I'm not saying that their grievances are all false. They're not all false. But the majority of them are. I'll give you an example. When I was a prison inspector, I get assigned 10 investigations, this is just an example, of allegations of inmates alleging abuse or alleging this or that with an officer. 1 out of 10 might be true when I did the investigation. And if it was substantiated, we took care of that officer. Well, it's the same with grievances, folks. There's going to be a lot of false grievances put on officers, so we need to be fair and impartial and don't jump on the side. Now, I saw another comment the other day on one of the correction sites where somebody said, an administrator said, well, the inmate has to be correct. And they were talking to the officer about a grievance, and one of the administrative officers. If it is true that the administrator said the inmate has to be correct, Lord help us. We need to change now. We need to fix something here. Maybe we need to go back to old school and promote people that actually have worked on the floor and not came up through the administrative side. There's a lot of things that you need to learn before you accuse an officer of that the inmate has to be right. You're accusing the officer of lying. So I'm throwing this out there to get both sides to think about it. Some grievances are going to be true. Not many, though, in my experience. Just like allegations against staff. Yes, I've done many cases where the allegations against staff were true. Sex with inmates, smuggling in drugs, so forth. However, that's over a 12-year period. I gave you an example. About 1 out of 10 inmate allegations were proven to be correct and true. So administrators, come on now. Let's start trying to work with our staff and read between the lines. We do not want our staff flex cuffed and sent out to the dorm to do a good job. We want the cuffs off. Let them do their random searches. Good God, don't you want that contraband out of your prison? Or do you enjoy having all these cell phone videos sent out to the media on the outside, and then you have to answer all the questions of why is this going on? Pay me now or pay me later. True Prison Stories. Thank you for watching.